The bridge of the Eternal Dominion shuddered violently as another plasma volley struck its shields. Emperor Xylar Vorn gripped the armrest of his crystalline throne, his four eyes narrowing at the tactical display. The Crithian ambush had been perfectly executed. 16 warships against his flagship, isolated in the void reaches where no reinforcements could arrive in time. Shield integrity at 42%, Your Eminence, his tactical officer announced, mandibles clicking nervously. Weapons array offline. Engineering reports catastrophic damage to the hyperdrive matrix. Xylar's scaled hand tightened. In 3 centuries of rule, he had never been outmaneuvered. The Galactic Imperium bent to his will, thousands of species acknowledging his supremacy. Yet here he was, minutes from destruction at the hands of rebel scum. "Reroute all power to forward shields," he commanded. "Prepare the—" A small figure darted past the Imperial guards at the bridge entrance. Talia Gray, the human child slave assigned to maintenance duties, ran directly toward the engineering console. Her worn gray uniform was too large for her thin frame, sleeves rolled up to her elbows, dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. "Seize that slave!" Xylar roared, but Talia had already reached the console, her small fingers flying across the holographic interface with impossible speed. The guard who grabbed her arm was too late. She'd already accessed the ship's core systems. "Your Eminence, the slave is accessing restricted engineering protocols," the chief engineer stammered, his gelatinous form quivering in panic. "I can fix it." Talia's voice rang out clear and defiant despite her youth. Her brown eyes met the Emperor's blazing purple gaze without flinching. "The hyperdrive matrix isn't dead, it's overloaded. You're trying to restart it the wrong way." Xylar rose from his throne, towering over the child at twice her height. No one interrupted the Emperor. No one dared look him in the eye. And certainly no human, the weakest, most primitive species in the Imperium, would ever presume to instruct him. "You forget your place, human whelp," he hissed, venom dripping from each word. Another impact rocked the ship. Shield integrity dropped to 28%. Talia didn't back down. "My place is keeping this ship running, Your Eminence. I've been crawling through those conduits for 6 months. I know every relay, every power junction. The Varaxian engineers don't. They're too big to fit in the maintenance shafts." She gestured at the display. "Look, the plasma feedback is cycling through Junction 7 Alpha. If you shut down the hyperdrive completely, the backflow will fry every system on the ship. But if you bleed it through the auxiliary ports while simultaneously—" "Silence!" Xylar's hand moved toward his sidearm. 8% shields." Someone screamed. The Emperor froze. His ship, his flagship, the symbol of Imperial might for 300 years. He looked at the cowering engineers, then at the small human child who stood trembling but resolute before him. "Speak," he commanded. Talia's words tumbled out in a rush. "Bleed the plasma through auxiliary ports 3 and 7. Create a controlled discharge into the shield generators. It'll boost them by at least 40% for 90 seconds. That buys time. Then reverse polarity pulse through the hyperdrive matrix to clear the overload. Standard restart sequence after that. 3 minutes, maybe 4. The chief engineer's eye stalks swiveled toward her. That's theoretically possible, but the timing would have to be perfect. One miscalculation and we'd lose life support across all decks. "Then don't miscalculate," Talia said simply. Xylar studied her for a long moment. Pride warred with pragmatism. Then shields hit 5% and pragmatism won. "Do it," he ordered. "The slave will guide you." What followed was the most chaotic 3 minutes in Imperial history. Talia's small hands danced across the console, calling out instructions faster than the engineers could implement them. She bypassed safety protocols that had stood for centuries, rerouted power in ways that made the chief engineer's gelatinous form turn pale green with horror, and spoke in technical jargon that most graduates of the Imperial Academy couldn't understand. Xylar watched, transfixed, as this 11-year-old human, this slave who should have been illiterate, powerless, insignificant, commanded his bridge crew with the authority of a seasoned admiral. "Auxiliary discharge in 3-2, now!" The Eternal Dominion blazed with light as excess plasma erupted from its ports, channeling directly into the shield generators. The tactical display showed shields jumping from 3% to 47%. "Reverse polarity pulse," Talia shouted. The ship groaned as if in pain. Warning klaxons blared, then suddenly silence. "Hyperdrive matrix online. the chief engineer whispered in disbelief. All systems nominal. Jump us out of here, Xylar commanded. Now. Space twisted as the Eternal Dominion vanished from the kill zone, leaving 16 Crithian warships firing at empty void. When the ship emerged in Imperial space, safe among the home fleet, Xylar descended from his throne. The bridge fell silent as he approached Talia, who now stood very still, the weight of what she'd done and how she'd done it finally crashing down on her. The Emperor had executed beings for lesser transgressions than accessing restricted systems without permission. Xylar knelt, bringing his eyes level with hers. How did a human child learn Varaxian quantum engineering? Talia's voice was barely a whisper. I listen, Your Eminence. When the engineers talk, when they work. I read the maintenance manuals they leave in the shafts. I remember everything I see. She swallowed hard. Humans are good at adapting, at surviving. It's all we know how to do. For the first time in 3 centuries, Emperor Xylar Vorn felt something unfamiliar. Humility. This child, from a species the Imperium had dismissed as barely sentient, had saved his life and his ship with nothing but observation, determination, and raw intelligence. He stood addressing the bridge crew. As of this moment, Talia Gray is no longer a slave. He removed the sigil ring from his smallest finger and pressed it into her palm. She is hereby appointed Chief Engineering Consultant to the Imperial Throne, with all rights and privileges thereof. Gasps echoed across the bridge. Talia stared at the ring, then at the Emperor, tears streaming down her face. Your Eminence, Humanity, Xylar interrupted, has underestimated itself, and we have underestimated humanity. He raised his voice. Let it be known throughout the Imperium. The humans are under Imperial protection. Any who enslave them will answer to me personally. As the bridge crew scrambled to acknowledge the order, Xylar looked down at the small human who had humbled an emperor and saved an empire. Perhaps he thought the weakest species had been the strongest all along. They simply needed someone to believe in them first.